Find out all about Disney's new Skyliner. This is Go Inform Podcast, episode 48. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me for this episode number 48 of the Go Inform podcast. My name is Maven. I am the hostess here on the show. And today we're going to talk about Disney's new Skyliner transportation system. This has been in place at Disney World now for a few months, and I got the chance to test it out when I was there in December. And wanted to give you guys a rundown about how it works and, how it can fit into your plans as you're making your way around the giant resort that is Disney World. Show notes today are going to be at goinform.net/48. So be sure to head over there. I'll post some pictures and some more detail about what I'm talking about here today. So the Skyliner is a gondola system that covers part of the area of Disney World. It runs between Epcot and Hollywood Studios with a few different stops at some of the resorts. And so it can be a really great way to get around, to kind of put it in strategically in the areas where it runs and use it for a way to get around to those places without having to deal with some of the other options that you used to have to do. So, Disney's transportation system is pretty complicated. There are a lot of ways to get around on the Disney World property. There are buses that go pretty much all over the place. There is a monorail. There is boats. And let's see. Well, there's a train in the Magic Kingdom. And trying to think what else there is. I think there's something I'm forgetting. But then now there's the Skyliner. So the Skyliner is a gondola system that's kind of like, almost exactly like a ski resort gondola system. So if you're familiar with this, it's one of those things where it's like a little capsule, I guess is a word for it, that you get in and it's you and a small group of people and it's on a cable and it's running, continuously along this cable. And at the ski resorts, these can be anything from something that only holds a few people to like a giant, gondola that can take 100 people. And the Skyliner is sort of in between. So the Skyliner gondolas can hold probably, if they were full, like 10 adults. And there are multiple of them on the cable. So they are going all the time and they can move a lot of people. And one of the best things about it is that it moves people without having to be in the traffic on the surface. So Skyliner is a really cool addition, and I can see Disney, if this is successful, I really expect that they're going to expand it, and I really hope that they do, because I found it to be a great way to get around, super convenient, and also like really fun. It's like a novelty. Like you can ride a bus at home, but you're probably not going to ride on a gondola. So it just makes even getting around a little bit more fun. The Skyliner works at kind of a hub and spoke system. So there's actually 3 different legs of the route. And there's a hub at Caribbean Beach Resort, on the property at the resort there, that serves as kind of the station where you would transfer between one line and the other. So the 3 different loops kind of the Skyliner are between Epcot and Caribbean Beach, and then between Hollywood Studios and Caribbean Beach, and then between Caribbean Beach and the Art of Animation and Pop Century. They share a station. Each one of these little routes takes somewhere between only like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's a pretty quick way to get around in that part of the Walt Disney World property. You do have to get off one and get on another. If you want to go, say, from Hollywood Studios to Epcot, you would ride the line that gets to Caribbean Beach, and then you step off and just walk over to the next one and get on and go all the way to Epcot. So if you were going to go the entire distance from Hollywood Studios to Epcot, it might be a total of about a 20-minute trip, including your wait at the station at Caribbean Beach. And, you know, I don't know if that's saving you a ton of time over riding a bus, but you don't have to worry about missing the Skyliner, because one of the best things about it is when it's running properly, it's going to run continuously. So when you get into the station at Hollywood Studios to get on, you're not going to have to wait for it to come like you do with the bus. And if you've ever waited for a bus anywhere, you know that's like the worst part of the bus, is like wondering when it's going to come. And especially at Disney World, because, you know, you're eager to get to your next spot and you don't want to stand around and wait. The Skyliner kind of eliminates this problem, because you're going to go into the station and get in a line that just keeps moving continuously, because the gondola is loading continuously. So your line's pretty much always moving, and it's, in my experience, it's a really relatively short wait to get onto that gondola and be on your way wherever you want to go. So this is a really big improvement over buses or even the monorail or really any of the other forms of transportation that they have at Disney World. And I should just reinforce something that I take for granted, but a lot of people don't actually know. All of the transportation at Disney World is free, whether you are staying on site or not. Once you're on site, you can ride the buses, you can ride the Skyliner, you can ride the monorail. There's no charge to you. No one's going to ask to see your magic band or your room key. This is part of the experience of being on site. So if you drive to Epcot and park your car and you want to get to Hollywood Studios, you can ride the Skyliner. You don't have to have been staying on site. And I think it's a really nice system that they have to help get people around, to keep people from having to be in their cars. And so just keep in mind that this is for everybody, not just people who are staying on site. So the gondolas themselves, like I said, they can hold roughly around 10 people. But what I saw them doing is they try to keep it comfortable. I guess if it was like a super busy time of day or time of year, they would try to fit as many as they can into the gondola. But just like pretty much any other attraction you're going to do at Disney World, they really put an emphasis on keeping groups together. So they're not going to break up your group unless you have so many people that they won't fit in there. And because of that, you might end up in a gondola that only has 5 people in it. Also, they want to keep this thing moving. So they're not going to wait for 10 people to show up to load one. They're just going to put the people on there as they come. So I had a couple times, I had a whole gondola to myself. I was in it also with like 2 other couples. I was in it once with a whole family and a kid in a stroller. So there's a variety of ways that they're going to load this. And if you really want one to yourself, like for some reason, I'm pretty sure if you ask the cast member, they could make it happen for you. As I mentioned, there was kids in strollers. This is a real advantage for you guys who are trying to get around with a stroller, because on the bus, you got to get the kid out of the stroller. You got to fold it up. You got to, handle it and deal with it. But on the gondola, on the Skyliner, they'll let you just wheel the stroller right into the Skyliner gondola and keep your kid in the stroller. So if you have an option to use this as a mode of transportation, especially like if you've got a kid asleep in that stroller, then I would highly recommend it. It's going to be a lot more convenient for you than trying to deal with the bus or any of the other transportation routes. The Skyliner also is really cute. I wrote that on my notes here because I want to make a note of it that they are all decorated differently, each gondola, and they usually have characters from the animated movies. So you might be in one that's Monsters, Inc. or Cars or, whatever. And so that's fun too. It's fun to watch them go past you going the other direction. And they did a really nice job of theming them. They're all the same on the inside, but they're different on the outside. One thing to know about the route going to Epcot, and this is a plus and a minus depending on what you want to do when you go to Epcot. It's important to know that the Skyliner goes to the back door of Epcot. So when I did that Epcot park tour way back, you'll have noted that there's kind of two ends of Epcot, and the World Showcase end is not the main entrance to the parks, but there is an entrance there. That is where the Skyliner ends up. So if you want to enter or exit the park from that end, this is a really great way to do it. The fireworks are at that end of the park, for instance. So this is a good escape route at the end of the night. Also, like for evening, it's great. You can go have dinner in World Showcase. Just take the Skyliner to get there. It drops you off right by that. And it also is close to the boardwalk area resorts. So if you're staying at Yacht and Beach Club or Boardwalk or even Swan and Dolphin, you can walk, maybe 5-minute walk to this Skyliner station and use that as a way to get down to Hollywood Studios. So it's really convenient for that end of the park, which never really had any direct transportation. Just another hack though for you guys to know, if you're at another park and you want to go to Epcot, but really you're going to the World Showcase end of Epcot, hop on a bus that goes to Yacht and Beach Club. That is going to get you really close to that back gate entrance, the International Gateway entrance of Epcot, way closer to that than if you ride the Epcot bus that's going to drop you off way over by Spaceship Earth. That's just a little tip for you if you're coming to the back door of Epcot from Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom. Take the bus to Yacht and Beach Club. That's a good back door way to go. If you're going to World Showcase from Hollywood Studios, though, now you can take the Skyliner and just glide above it all, which is really cool. The Skyliner runs roughly the same hours as the Disney buses. So, it's going to get you there in time for park opening. It's going to still be running when the park closes. But if you have a really early, a breakfast reservation or something, you're going to want to double check the times to make sure you can get there using the Skyliner. If it's a little bit outside of the normal hours, the Skyliner may not be running. So watch the app. The Disney World app is going to give you those running times. There's also signs at all the Skyliner stations that show the times that it's operating. So to kind of back up and give you a sense of where the Skyliner stops, so the hub of the Skyliner is at Caribbean Beach. And this is where you can get on the ride that's going to take you to any of the 3 destinations. So you can take it to Epcot, you can take it to Hollywood Studios, you can take it to Pop Century or Art of Animation, all from the center hub at Caribbean Beach. The Skyliner also stops at the Riviera Resort, which is kind of at the north side of Caribbean Beach. So there's a second stop there. That one is the line that runs to Epcot. So if you're staying at the Riviera Resort, you're going to have like a nonstop Skyliner to Epcot and back. But if you want to go to Hollywood Studios, you will have to take the Skyliner or just walk down to the Caribbean Beach stop. But either way, you're going to have to get off at Caribbean Beach and get on to the Hollywood Studios Skyliner. The Riviera is the only stop right now that's an intermediate stop on any of the runs. The runs are basically Epcot, stopping at the Riviera, but doesn't really stop. It just kind of slows down and you can get on or off. And then it goes on to Caribbean Beach. And then the other two lines are direct. So it's just directly from Caribbean Beach to the Pop Century or directly from Caribbean Beach to Hollywood Studios. There's no stops in between those. And that's part of the reason it's so quick, because it doesn't have to stop to pick up more people or drop anybody off. Staying at Caribbean Beach makes a ton of sense right now because of the Skyliner. That's where I stayed on my trip because I wanted to sort of see how it worked. And it was pretty great, at least for getting to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. I still had to take the bus to the other parks, and Caribbean Beach is a gigantic resort with 5 internal bus stops. So it can be a little hassle for the other 2 parks. But if you are, focusing a lot on Epcot and Hollywood Studios, Caribbean Beach is fantastic because all you have to do is walk over to the Skyliner station and get on the gondola and you're there. I mean, Hollywood Studios to Caribbean Beach is like a 5-minute ride, you guys. So that is super convenient. Especially if you're like mainly going because you want to see all the stuff at Hollywood Studios, all the Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge and all of that, seriously consider staying at Caribbean Beach because you're going to have this like direct, really quick way to get over there to Hollywood Studios. This is also, a nice addition for people staying at Pop Century and Art of Animation. Now they have another way to get into the parks besides a bus. And for the Epcot resorts, this is also, it gives you a cool way to get down to Hollywood Studios. Actually, staying in those Epcot area resorts, you have a lot of cool ways to get around because you can take the bus. Now you can take this Skyliner from the World Showcase Station, and you can also take a boat to Hollywood Studios and Epcot from your resort. So that's really fun. If you've got a transportation buff, then staying in that part of Disney World is kind of neat because now you've got a bunch of different ways to get around. So there are a couple downsides to the Skyliner, of course, which I really need to tell you guys about. One is there's no air conditioning. So the windows do open, but no AC on these Skyliner gondolas. So I was there in December. It was not a problem, but I can imagine that if I was there in August, I might not have had such a great experience with this. The buses have air conditioning, and sometimes if that's what you want, then that's the way you need to go. This is going to be a lovely way to get around a lot of the time, but on a super hot day, I can imagine that the Skyliner is going to feel like you've just gone into a sauna. So keep that in mind if you're traveling in the summer. Maybe use it in the morning. It's, I'm sure, going to be, much nicer, more comfortable, like early in the morning or maybe later in the evening, and then maybe do buses during the day. But heat of the day, Skyliner might not be as fun. Also, there are times when the gondolas will stop, just like how sometimes you're on a ride and it has to stop for a few minutes. Same thing can happen with the Skyliner. So if you're afraid of heights, just be aware that maybe this might be stressful for you. Also, make sure you went to the bathroom before you get on the Skyliner, just in case it does get stuck. And don't be starving. when you get on it, just in case. It's just that there's a lot higher chance of a breakdown with Skyliner than with a bus, and you would not want to be stuck on there and be super uncomfortable. So be aware that that can happen. It's gotten more and more rare for there to be any lengthy delays on the Skyliner as it's been running, longer here as time goes on. But just be aware that can be an issue. And also weather, if there's a stormy weather conditions or really windy, then they're not going to run the Skyliner. Just like everything else with a trip like this, just make sure you have a plan B so that if something happens that's out of your control, you can hop on a different form of transportation and it's not going to, really throw you off too much. I think that the downsides to the Skyliner occur in pretty specific circumstances, and then a lot of the time that this is going to be a really great way for you to get around, and I highly encourage you to keep it in mind as part of your planning for your Disney World vacation, and especially in terms of where you decide to stay. So staying on the Skyliner route is a good idea to give you more options for getting around, and just another kind of novel way to see Disney World. I mean, you get to kind of go over the rooftops. You kind of get to look into the backside of World Showcase from above. You can see they're building the Ratatouille attraction right now. It's pretty cool. So this is just a really great, almost like an attraction, even though it's a way to get around the parks. So I'll put some pictures on the show notes so you guys can see what it looks like and get a sense of how big it is and all that stuff. The show notes again are at goinformed.net/48. And thanks for listening, you guys, and thanks for subscribing. Also, I just want to thank another one of our Patreon supporters, Valerie N. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Don't forget, you can also become a Go Informed pass holder by supporting the show at Patreon. It's at patreon.com/goinformed. And follow me on social. I'm Go Informed Net almost everywhere, and love to hear from you. And that's always where I'm going to share the most up-to-date information that I have. And thanks, you guys, for listening. And I really hope you have a high-flying vacation.